everyone, I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Today we're gonna have some fun and take an in-depth look at Star Wars Rogue One. The second video I posted on this channel was a video I made shortly after the Star Wars Rogue One trailer was released, and I explained how Rogue One fit into the Star Wars timeline. And I also gave my thoughts and predictions on who the characters in the movie are, and what we might see. Well, it's been almost 3 months since I uploaded that video, and since then, we've had a ton of new information that's come out, and Entertainment Weekly released a bunch of new images, along with explanations on who the heroes and villains of the movie are. So let's take a look together at the newest additions to the Star Wars universe. By now, we know that Rogue One takes place between Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and Episode 4, A New Hope. What does the Star Wars universe look like at this point in time? Well, the ruling government that has stood for thousands of years, the Republic, has been reorganized into the First Galactic Empire, with Emperor Palpatine as the ruthless dictator and Darth Vader as his second-in-command.
The Republic will be reorganized into the First Galactic Empire for a safe and secure society.
Jedi have been mostly exterminated by the clone troopers that they commanded during the Clone Wars, and any survivors have been systematically hunted down by the Empire. The Empire rules the galaxy with an iron fist and uses fear and genocide to control multiple worlds. Under their rule, groups of humans and aliens alike have risen up to stand against them to form the Alliance to Restore the Republic, otherwise known as the Rebel Alliance. The Empire, aware of this threat, has been hard at work secretly building a weapon that can obliterate an entire planet with one shot: the Death Star. These are the dark times in which this movie takes place, and the rebels discover that the Empire is building this devastating weapon and organize a group of rebels to steal the plans to the Death Star in order to find a weakness. And these plans, of course, eventually allow Luke Skywalker to destroy the Death Star in A New Hope. This movie tells the story of how the rebels stole those plans, and how they ended up in rebel hands. Now that we understand the time period in which Rogue One takes place, let's look at some of the characters we'll be spending time with. Let's start with the heroes of the story. Jyn Erso seems to be the main character we'll be following the closest. From the age of 15 on, she grew up by herself, and her rebellious nature caused her to constantly run into trouble. The trailer even mentions different crimes she's committed. At some point in Rogue One, she gets detained by rebel forces and meets Mon Mothma, who you may remember from Return of the Jedi. Mon Mothma recruits her into the rebel group that's going to steal the Death Star plans. And from the trailer, it looks like she's going to dress up at some point in an Imperial uniform to get access to the plans. Mads Mikkelsen is going to be playing the role of her father, Galen Erso, who's a scientist that has some sort of knowledge that the Rebellion and the Empire are both looking for. But why were the rebels and the Empire wanting his knowledge? We know the Geonosians helped design the Death Star, from the scene in Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Maybe Galen Erso had something to do with the design behind the Death Star's firepower. And since Jyn has been on her own since the age of 15, I think he may have been killed at some point, captured by the Empire, or perhaps he's willingly working with them. We may have to wait until the movie to find out. In my Rogue One trailer breakdown video, I also mentioned that this character right here could be Biggs Darklighter, Luke's childhood friend that dies in the Death Star attack, but I was proven wrong. This character's name is actually Cassian Andor. He's a rebel soldier stationed at the rebel base on Yavin 4, which we know is used later to stage the attack on the Death Star. And Cassian has orders to help steal the Death Star plans, and he's more of a by-the-book soldier that's tasked with keeping an eye on Jyn and keeping her in line since she does have a more reckless nature. Baze Malbis is a freelance assassin during the time of Rogue One, and he also gets thrown into this mission to steal the plans. He's more of a hardened character, and he doesn't really believe in the powers of the Force, which really goes to show the effect the Emperor's rule had on the galaxy. Even Han Solo in A New Hope mentions that he thinks the Force is nonsense.
You don't believe in the Force, do you?
Kid, I've flown from one side of this galaxy to the other. I've seen a lot of strange stuff, but I've never seen anything to make me believe there's one all-powerful force controlling everything. There's no mystical energy field controls my destiny.
After the Empire took over, the Emperor made sure to destroy sacred Jedi temples and wipe out thousands of years of their teachings. So it makes total sense that after a couple of decades of Imperial rule, the galaxy is starting to forget the importance of the Jedi. Baze is also protective of his friend and partner, Chirrut Imwe. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, keep that in mind. He's the one you see in the trailer whack a stormtrooper around with a staff. He's a blind, martial arts practicing, monk-like character that has a strong spiritual side. He's not a person the Jedi would consider as Force-sensitive, though. Force-sensitive individuals in the Star Wars universe are beings who are more naturally attuned to sense and use the Force. So, he's not a Jedi, but he does have a strong belief in the Force. I wouldn't be surprised if they hint in the movie that he is using the Force to guide his movements, though. Bodhi Rook is an experienced rebel pilot who also helps getting the Death Star plans. There's really not a whole lot of information about him other than the fact that he's hot-headed, which makes me think he might be like a Poe Dameron kind of character. Forrest Whitaker is playing Saw Gerrera. I didn't think much of this character when the trailer first premiered because, honestly, I had no idea who he was. I thought he was just some rebel advisor, or some kind of black market dealer, or something like that. But when his name was revealed, I thought it was an awesome surprise. Saw Gerrera first appeared in the Clone Wars animated series. This is the first time they've introduced a character in the series, and he's made the jump over to live action. If you haven't seen that show yet, I highly recommend it. In the show, he was from the planet Onderon, where the droid army invaded and took it over, and he was part of a group that was trying to fight the droid army off the planet, and Ahsoka Tano and Captain Rex were assigned there during the war to teach them how to fight back. In Rogue One, he's involved in the mission to steal the Death Star plans also, and he did lead one of the first groups of rebels that fought against the Empire. His tactics are also seen as extreme, and some even call him a terrorist, so I'm excited to see how he fits into the movie. I love how characters introduced in one form of media can jump over to another, and I hope we do see more of this in the future with Star Wars movies. Now let's look at some of the non-human good guys. Now we know it wouldn't be a Star Wars movie without aliens and droids in it. K2SO, he is a droid that joins the rebels stealing the Death Star plans, and what I find the most interesting about this character is what you see here on his shoulder. He's got an Imperial logo, which means that he was a droid that was used by the Empire. So it makes me wonder if he has some kind of free will and he decided to join the rebels on his own, or was he taken by the rebels and reprogrammed to serve them, Terminator style. Peo and Biston, probably pronouncing those wrong too, but these are the two aliens that joined the Death Star plans rebel group. There's not much information on either of them yet, but they're both described as fierce warriors. And one thing I love about the Star Wars movies is that we're constantly introduced to new alien species. Every time a new Star Wars movie or project comes out, I have no idea what races these two belong to, but Peo looks like a miniature version of the space slug from Empire Strikes Back with eyes. And Biston looks like a cross between a young Wookiee and an Ewok. They look awesome. I also consider the planets in Star Wars almost as characters themselves. I mean, most Star Wars movies introduce completely different looking worlds, and each world has a distinct feel to it. Revenge of the Sith introduced the overgrown fungus planet of Felucia, Empire Strikes Back showed us the ice world of Hoth, Return of the Jedi gave us a look at the forest moon of Endor. And as much as I absolutely loved The Force Awakens, this is one thing about the movie I just wasn't impressed with. The planet Jakku, where Rey grew up, looks almost exactly like Tatooine, and even Starkiller Base looked almost like Hoth. There just weren't very big differences between these worlds, and I understand this was done purposely to honor what came before, but I like seeing drastically different planets from what we've seen before, and from what I can tell, Rogue One is doing exactly that. The new screenshots released show stormtroopers on what looks like a beach, and you see several shots of palm trees, so it looks like we're going to some kind of ocean planet that has areas that look like a tropical paradise. We've never seen a world like that in the Star Wars movies, and it's probably the closest thing to Miami in the galaxy. And it looks like there's going to be some kind of major battle here, with rebels storming the beach, like in Saving Private Ryan, with AT-ATs defending the coast. I'm assuming there's probably going to be some kind of Imperial base here that houses the Death Star plans. That's my guess at least, which I'm not really basing on any concrete facts, keep in mind. This is just what I'm predicting based on what we've seen in the trailer. Now some of the villains we'll be seeing. The trailer and the new screenshots give us a really good look at a new type of stormtrooper we haven't seen in the movies yet that wear black armor, Death Troopers. And we've gotten a couple of looks at some of the other new troopers we'll be seeing too, but what's clear is that these black armored stormtroopers are some kind of elite soldier, which is great to see. The classic white stormtroopers are in here too, but we all know that they are just cannon fodder and they constantly miss targets that are right in front of them all the time. It looks like the Death Troopers are going to be carrying better weapons too. These look like they have some kind of scope on them, so maybe some sort of sniper rifle. I think these guys are going to be badass, kind of like the Navy SEALs of the Empire. In this screenshot here, you do see one holding a Stormtrooper doll. Disney's already confirmed that this scene does have some kind of importance in the movie. And we've seen a lot of examples of movies where someone finds a doll in ruins and they play some sad music. I bet this whole scene is staged by the Empire to make it look like rebels attacked some innocent village or something, so the Empire can use it as propaganda to turn public support away from the rebels. I'm probably overthinking this scene, and again, I'm not basing this on any concrete facts, but that would be kinda cool. Director Krenek seems like he's going to be one of the main threats in the movie. I said in my Rogue One trailer video that he seems to be some kind of Imperial governor of some sort. It looks like he's actually the head of the Imperial military. Originally, he was an Imperial officer that kind of manipulated his way into having this much higher position, and he uses the Death Troopers as his personal weapons against the rebels, and he's in charge of security for the Death Star's construction project. He looks like he's going to be this cold, calculating villain in the movie, and I assume he's probably going to die at some point because we don't see him or hear anything about him in future movies. I'm calling this right now. The rebels are going to steal the plans, Darth Vader is going to get pissed at him, and he's going to choke him out. And we know that Darth Vader does have a habit of doing that to Imperial officers. He does not like people failing him.
You have failed me for the last time. You are in command now, Admiral Piet.
I shall assume full responsibility for losing them and apologize to Lord Vader.
Apology accepted. Don't fail me again, Admiral.
We'll see if I'm right about that one. Speaking of which, everyone's favorite Sith Lord and the man that helped wipe out the Jedi, Darth Vader, he is back, and James Earl Jones is back to voice him. Best news out of this entire movie right there. I'm pumped to see him portrayed in this movie, and I think this is going to be a different, much more vicious Darth Vader than we've seen in previous movies. This is a Darth Vader at the height of his power, and 100% taken over by the dark side. His wife is dead, he's got no idea he has 2 living children, he's been helping the Empire hunt down and kill surviving Jedi, he's in complete service to his Emperor and Master. You can argue that he was at the same point in his life in A New Hope, but in that movie, he really didn't do a whole lot by hanging around the Death Star. During this time, the Death Star hasn't even been completed yet, so I'm assuming he's going to have a much more active role in Rogue One. I want to see a scene like in the Marvel Star Wars comic books, which are outstanding. I also highly recommend that you read those if you're a Star Wars fan. In the story arc called Vader Down, Darth Vader gets shot down by rebels, and he's completely surrounded. As they yell at him to surrender, he says the only thing he's surrounded by is fear and dead men. This is Darth Vader at his best and at his most terrifying. I really hope we see a scene like this. I hope you guys enjoyed this look into Star Wars Rogue One. That's all I have for you today. I know when it comes out, I'll be there opening night on the first showing available. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and please leave me a comment down below. Which character are you looking forward to seeing on the big screen the most? Mine's absolutely Darth Vader. And remember to subscribe so you can keep up with all of my content. This is Fabian from GamerThumb TV. Till next time, fellow Star Wars fans.